Hello and welcomes everyone, AnthWolf here with a new Let's Play of Europa Universalis 4. Developed by Paradox Development Studio and published by Paradox Interactive. This is a grand strategy game set in 1444 AD all the way up until 1821 AD, where you basically choose a nation and depending on your playstyle or depending on the nation you choose, you may decide to play the game rather diplomatically, maybe use your military might to expand your power, or you may decide to try and go more of a trading or colonization route and try and explore the new world. Most recently, on the 1st of December 2015, the 6th major expansion for the game, the Cossacks expansion, was released by Paradox, which has introduced a few new game mechanics, including this large big button here, the random new world generator, which we may be using in this playthrough. But yeah, I've been meaning to do another campaign of this game for 2-3 months now, to be honest, since my completion of my Austrian campaign, where we managed to reform the Holy Roman Empire in its entirety. But I've had a few troubles trying to get back into the game since the most recent expansion. I've been playing around with custom nation builders and it just hasn't felt right, but I thought I'd give it another try. I've had a couple of days off from trying to force myself to play, and here I am taking another stab at it actually. Playing a nation I never tried to record previously, well, over the past week or so. But yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to try the nation of France, which in 1444 AD are quite the powerhouse. It seems the AI sometimes use them foolishly, so hopefully we can correct the AI's mistakes and make France a rather powerful nation. I was like, who's to know? I have noticed that with the most recent expansion, going into offensive wars is a lot more difficult, and that you need to pace yourself a lot better now. I tend to have a habit of trying to rush my wars or declaring a war early, and I don't think you can get away with that anymore due to a new system known as Favours and Trust, which we'll be showing off, maybe not in this video, but definitely in the next one, just to show you what it may involve. But yeah, obviously what we can look at right here and now is obviously we are going to be playing at the very beginning of the game at the 11th of November, 1444. France, of course, now since the Common Sense expansion, no longer have any vassals over anyone here in mainland Europe. They used to have a couple of small vassals that they could integrate within the first 10-20 years of the game. Now they're mostly self-contained and ready to expand their borders outwards against maybe Provence, Brittany, Burgundy. Of course, Burgundy, before the Common Sense expansion, which is the 5th major expansion, were quite a basically unified nation themselves. But now Burgundy have quite a few personal unions over 3 nations and have a vassal in the form of Nevers. So even though Burgundy look quite small compared to France, they have a lot of small nations that make up their empire. So declaring war on them early on can be risky. But hopefully we'll be able to expand. I am hoping to try and make this campaign less of a colonization series, which is what I tend to do. It's my favorite playstyle, because I quite enjoy doing that. And actually I'm going to try and concentrate on obviously mainland Europe here and try to expand our influence internally rather than trying to send my colonists out and grow the French Empire on the New World. But yeah, let's have a look at the nation of France, shall we? We start off as a Western tech group nation because of course we're here in Western Europe. We are Catholic. Of course, all the nations, mostly in Europe right now, unless you're in Eastern Europe, are Catholic. Of course, we do have some Orthodox nations. But when the Protestant and Reformations kick off, We may decide to switch our religion. I haven't fully decided. We'll have to wait and see what opportunities present themselves and at what point should we change. The downside of France is that it's quite a dense nation. It's made up of 20 provinces, and when the Reformations kick off, if we do switch to become Protestant or Reformed, there is a high possibility that we will have a religious civil war if we can't convert enough provinces to re-raise our religious unity. So these are little things that I've got in the back of my head, and there is ways and means around that, but we'll have to consider them at some point anyway. We are classified as a feudal monarchy, and we are a kingdom. Now, since the Common Sense expansion, depending on your nation's development cost, you could be classified as a duchy, a kingdom, or an empire. And depending on which government rank you were, you had certain bonuses. Obviously, the greater your rank, the more greater the bonuses. The kingdom's the middle rank. I think no nation at the beginning of the game starts off as an empire, even though, say, the Ottomans or, say, the Ming Empire are incredibly powerful at the beginning of the game. I believe you need to have so much prestige, and I think you need 1,000 development to actually switch your government rank from kingdom to empire. And all of the nations within the HRE, bar Austria, are classified as duchies due to how the Holy Roman Empire is run. You have a lot of princes under one emperor, and the emperor's nation is classified as a kingdom, I believe. Unless he gets voted out, which thankfully didn't happen in my campaign. Otherwise things could have went horribly wrong, and the emperor gets a lot of bonuses. But suffice to say, we aren't going to be playing within the HRE, though we may be playing against them, depending if we want to expand eastward in any way. Obviously, we have our current ruler. He is... oh, we have an heir who's 21. It doesn't tell us how old our current ruler is, but it's King Charles VII. He is a 424 ruler in terms of his monarch points, which is reasonable. I tend to like anyone with anything over 3 or over tends to be average. So having 4 administrative power and 4 military power means we should do quite well unless he passes away rather early. Because we're part of the Western Tech Group, we have 3 abound in our technology levels right now. Of course, we need to get Administrative Technology 5 before we unlock our first national ideas. The French ideas. We start with a plus 20% to our national manpower modifier, which is always good. And Diplomatic Reputation plus 1, which may not seem good, but depending on what events actually occur here in Eastern Europe, that may come in handy. Of course, if we unlock all of our French ideas, we unlock Discipline plus 5%, which is pretty damn good. Discipline tends to be very good mid to late game, whereas Morale of Armies is what you need early game. Let's see, various ideas we can unlock. French language in all courts, plus 15% income from vassals and minus 10% diplomatic annexation costs. This used to be very good when France started, with a lot of vassals under it who they could integrate into their kingdom. But now, unless you are vassalizing opponents, then this is pretty weak now, to be honest with you. But it does sort of lead you into, rather than trying to take provinces from nations, try to just full out vassalize them if possible. And then you get more income from them, basically. As long as they don't try to be disloyal to you. Elan, Morale of Armies plus 20%. This is basically the go-to idea for playing as France. Morale of Armies plus 20% is absolutely amazing. And the only thing better right now is looking at Castile, because Castile at the moment start with a plus 50% bonus to their morale. So Castile, I think, start out a little bit stronger than France. The development is not as high, so France may have more troops. But until the Elan idea is unlocked, the Spanish troops, well, the Castilian troops at this point in time, do fight a little bit stronger, I believe. So they're about even, really. National tax modifier. Every nation tends to have this in some way, shape or form. It's always nice to have, but it's not amazing. It's pretty neutral, pretty average. Native trading policies, or principles I should say. This is a new thing for the Cossacks expansion, at least I think it is. Where basically if and when you're colonizing, you have 3 options how you are going to treat the natives that you actually are going to discover. The trading principles is the middle ground, where you're going to try and be nice to the natives and hopefully have them assimilate and join your colony. And the other 2 options are you can basically live with them and coexist with them, and it prevents them from rising up completely, or you can subjugate them when every month they do have a percentage chance of rising up, but you have more settlers moving to the colony each month as well. But if we were playing as a colonization playstyle, this would be quite nice. Vauburn fortifications, fort maintenance -20%, not bad. Forts do cost a fair bit, especially depending on how many forts we're actually going to have in our kingdom. So having our forts raised and constantly costing us less to maintain is rather nice to have. Technology cost -10%, that's really damn good. Normally it's an idea when I'm making a custom nation, I normally like to have this at the beginning, just because it's an all-round good idea to have. This means improving your technologies costs less. And finally, tolerance of heretics, tolerance of heathens +2, which is extremely good if you're trying to annex people, because they may have a different religion to you, especially when, as I say, the Reformations take place. Obviously we could be annexing Protestant, Reformation, or even Catholic nations, and we don't want them to have too high of a... what's it called again? Unrest, that's what it's called. And obviously tolerance of their religion does help in that fact. But yeah, apart from that, I say we have 20 provinces that make up our nation. We have 341 development, which is pretty good. One of the higher development nations at the beginning. Look at the Ottomans. Even the Ottomans have less, but the Ottomans have a lot of potential small nations they eat up early on. They have more development in England, more development in Castile. Poland and Lithuania tend to come together early on, depending on what event takes place. So Poland and the Lithuanian combination is quite scary. As well as Denmark, Norway and Sweden are together quite powerful. But France as a singular nation just have that pure strength. And finally we have, I think, 5 forts as well as the fort in our capital. So yeah, all in all we are very decent. We are guaranteeing the independence of Scotland right now. England tend to get various missions to say vassalize or completely annex Scotland and try to form Great Britain. We'll want to try and stop them from doing that. We do have a couple of places we consider our main cause. These 4 provinces are being held by England right now, as well as Calais. So it's in our interest to declare on England and try to reclaim these provinces, because it's not going to cost us anything to take them, or it's going to cost us very little to take them in the war goal. But as I say, offensive wars early on now are very difficult. But I'll show you what I mean when we actually get into the game. And speaking of, I think this is a good time to begin. The last thing I'm going to do, even though we're not going to be playing in a colonization focused playstyle, I am going to use the random new world generator, because why the hell not, it's there. What this does, and I'll scroll left, is obviously the new world, which is obviously being populated by the native Indians. You've got the Aztecs, Mayans and the Incans here as well. Obviously here in North and South America. Basically this chunk of map that you're looking at right now is going to disappear. And in its place, a random new world is going to replace it. And I have turned off, I'm going to double check actually. Terra Incognita is turned on. So, until anyone really discovers the new world, we're not going to know what it looks like. We're not even sure if the native Indians or the Aztecs and such still exist. There might just be free land for anyone who is brave enough to colonize it, up for grabs here, between, obviously, the Atlantic and the Pacific. So, let us create a random new world. Obviously, that just takes a moment. And then we'll actually get into the game and get setting up the nation of France. There we go. New world is generated. We don't know what it looks like. We probably won't be sending any explorers to discover it. But over time, over the years, if certain other nations like Portugal, who tend to go exploration early on, when they discover the land, I think it's about 50 years after they discover it, the other nations in their tech group tend to discover it as well. So that's how we'll probably discover the new world. Unless I change my mind later on in the game and go exploration myself, but it's not going to be my primary focus. So, yeah, let us begin. Is there anything I'm missing? Nope. Okay. We'll be playing on normal mode rather than Iron Man mode. I'm not a great one for achievements in this game, but I'd rather have multiple saves just in case any videos are corrupted. Okay. Here we are in the world so far. We don't need this one, we don't need this one. We have too many military leaders right now. We can only have one military leader. So we are having a penalty to our military power. I think I am going to actually remove one of these generals. We'll remove you. That's fine. So at the moment we are focused on diplomatic power. I'm going to turn that off. If we focus, it takes one monarch point from the other non-focused ideas and puts them into the other one. So it gets today like a +2 bonus, if you know what I mean. Our current ruler is 41 years of age, which isn't bad. How much money are we earning? 3 ducats a month. We have no advisors right now, but we could hire some. Do we have any good ones? Not really. I would like to have a military leader who's good with morale or discipline. Obviously there is a morale of armies advisor there, but he's a tier 2 advisor. He costs a lot more to basically keep it. Let's see, what missions are available? England must be driven from France. We must take all 4 provinces. I would love to do that. It doesn't include Calais. It just wants us to remove the 4 provinces I was talking about in the setup. But it's very risky to take as an early idea, so I'm going to solidify our papal relations. We have 3 diplomats to play with, so I'm actually going to immediately send one over to the papal state to try and complete that mission. Let us see, who are our rivals? England, Burgundy and Provence. So I don't mind actually rivaling England and Provence immediately. In fact, I actually don't mind rivaling Burgundy either. And I want to offer Castile, who also have rivaled England, an alliance. I would like to have a Castilian and French alliance going quite powerfully, so that they may be interested in going to war in the future. Portugal probably won't have an alliance with us because they are currently allied with England and they are at the very beginning of the game. The rest of the in-game alliances don't take place for the first few days. So, in honesty, I'm going to hire some more infantry. And we're going to drop our army maintenance, and we're going to drop our forts. Obviously, you can see the various forts we have. There's another one up here. Forts were in addition to the common sense expansion. Basically, they are worth a lot more to the war score. And if the enemy don't take a fort, they can't pass through adjacent provinces. So at the moment, the enemy couldn't walk through this province here because of the fort here in Lyonesse. So we're just going to deactivate our forts right now. Just bring our army together. Make sure we're not suffering attrition. That's important. That's fine. So, we could hire some advisors. Trying to think if there's any worthwhile at the moment. Not really, but it might be worthwhile just to boost our monarch points, because each advisor, depending on what tier, tell you how many points they give you to your power. So at the moment, obviously, our tier 1 Grand Captain gives us +1 monarch points to our military power, which then can be used for improving our technologies, unlocking ideas, or actually improving our country's province development, which was again another common sense addition. And we're probably going to be putting a lot of points into development. Maybe not straight away, but when our technologies are ahead of time and we're suffering a technological penalty, we'll probably want to just improve our provinces here. Actually, we have a bit of autonomy. Is there any way we can go to all -7? That's not good. We have a few provinces with like 50% autonomy, which is not ideal. We're going to have to try and settle them down a bit further. The higher the autonomy, the worse the province is actually doing for you. It's giving you less tax, less manpower. It's little things like this. Okay, let's see. So we have one ally so far, or hopefully we will have one ally. They haven't accepted straight away. They will as soon as we unpause the game. We have cause against England. We probably want cause against province here. So I think we may fabricate a claim immediately on their capital, which is actually really good. It's actually a 20 development province. It has a, let's have a look here. It has the Rhone estuary here in the Genoa trade node. So if we can gain control of that, it means we'll be getting more trade from Genoa, which is actually a central trade node. A lot of trade from other trade provinces and other trade areas runs into Genoa and doesn't actually leave it from anywhere. So it's worthwhile having one. Which actually we have a merchant in Genoa collecting ducats, which is actually really good. So we are getting our army force limit. As for our fleet right now, we only have 16 naval force limit, which is not great. We're going to have our light ships protecting trade in... what is this? The Bordeaux trade node. Okay. We have 2 heavy ships. The rest are transports. We're just going to mothball them, which means they will be weaker, but they're not actually... we're not paying for their maintenance. What else is happening here? Don't need to worry about trade. Technology is fine. Ideas we don't need to look at until we get administrative technology level 5. We have our first idea. There is some national decisions we can take in the future. None of them are really jumping out at me. There's no major decisions. Moving the court of Versailles is tempting. But we need economic ideas and have got administrative technology 16. So they're asking us to take economic ideas. Development cost minus 20% when we complete it. That's not bad. Not a bad administrative idea. I don't tend to take it, but if it is going to allow us to unlock one of our national decisions, it may be worthwhile. Okay, interesting. At the moment we have a neutral stability, no positive, no negative. Our war exhaustion is non-existent because we haven't been at war just yet. We have no possible rebels, we are Catholic. Our military is fine. Might as well put our leader with this group. And a final thing to look at before we actually probably break this video is the estate basically table here. Estates are something new for the Cossacks expansion. It's similar as if you were running a merchant republic. They're made up of the burghers, the clergy and the nobility. And they have different loyalties, different influence, and obviously different territory that they currently own. As you can see right now, the nobility own the most territory in our land. If we click on a certain province, it tells you if an estate actually controls that province right now and what bonuses it provides. So if we go back to this screen right now, the burghers, which I can't pronounce that French word, I apologise. I could try and massacre it, which I tend to do for most of this game. But at the moment I'm just going to call them the burghers because that's what they're called in other provinces basically. At the moment their loyalty is at 40%, therefore they're giving us a bonus to our trade efficiency. But if their loyalty was increased, they would actually give us a bonus to our development cost. If their loyalty drops, we will actually take a penalty. And it's the same with the clergy, only various other bonuses that they affect, and with the nobility as well. Now depending on their loyalty, we can interact with them in certain ways. Certain things increase loyalty and certain things decrease it as well. So at the moment we could ask them for some money, but we would lose 5 loyalty with them. We could gain diplomatic power, but it would cost us even more loyalty. Or we could grant them a bit of power. They would gain influence and loyalty, but we would lose 5 prestige. This would probably be worthwhile if we say then wanted to get to maybe 60 loyalty, so that we could get that extra bonus. But the higher their loyalty, the more interactions are available. If we look at the nobility right now, we have all of the options available. Obviously we could gain more manpower for just 10 loyalty. Get a skill 2 diplomat, which we don't really need because we can't really afford him, even though it does say this advisor is cheaper for your country to employ. Demand military support, which would be really good, but not just yet. And obviously the clergy as well, the various other interactions. You can ask for some administrative power. Or you can actually spend money to give them more loyalty. Little things like that. There are going to be pop-ups. There's going to be pop-ups that you may be familiar with if you've played EU4 yourself before. And they will now have estate-centric positives and negatives. And there is brand new events for mostly the most recent expansion, which specifically target the estates in some way. The estates will get a bit unhappy if they don't believe they have some territory. As you notice when I click say on this province, no estate currently controls it. And if they don't believe they have the acceptable percentage of land in your territory, they may get a bit upset and they become less and less loyal up until they could rise up against you. One last thing to show off before we end this introduction video is, as I say, Castile are hopefully going to become my ally. If we look at this tab, the diplomatic feedback tab, there's now a thing called trust and favours. Trust is a measure of the strength of any alliance we have. It decreases if we break promises or otherwise act dishonourably. It can be increased by spending favours using this tab here. You start with 50 trust, I think, with every nation. And as I say, if you decline wars, that trust will drop quite badly, and they'll be less enticed to rejoin you in an alliance because of that. You can spend 10 favours to gain 5 trust. And you can also spend 10 favours to ask a nation to prepare for war. This basically means that nation won't, for 12 months, won't actually declare an offensive war of their own. And they'll be more enticed to join in a war that you call. But one thing that's important is you must always tend to have 10 favours available to draw any nation that you're allied with into a war. So early wars you're probably fighting solo if you're fighting them at all, so it's something to bear in mind, and I have stumbled quite a few times in trying to do this. I think trust is more important if you're trying to vassalize a nation. It's better to have a high trust with them because they'll be more likely to accept vassalization. But that's just something I've looked up and I'm not sure how true it is. It's just something I may have experienced. But, well, something I've researched anyway. But I haven't confirmed personally. But, yeah. So I think we'll end this video here as a setup and introduction video. And when we come back, we'll actually be unpausing the game. I'm going to wait to decide who my other allies are going to be. At the moment, we only have one diplomatic relations slot. Bloody hell, struggling. One diplomatic relations slot taken with Scotland because we're guaranteeing their independence. We're going to get another because we are allying with Castile. But that gives us another 2 slots to maybe choose another 2 allies. I'm not going to decide who they are immediately. I'm going to wait to see what nations ally with whom and then make our decision from there. So yeah, feel free to comment below. I hope you all enjoy this series with me. I hope this series gets off the ground basically, because as I say, I've been struggling recently with EU4 to make it feel right in myself and actually enjoying myself as I do so. But as I say, we'll wait and see how it goes. So, I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, bye bye now.